Evidently, this was going on for some time, and the health department didn't know. I'm just praying and hoping everything comes out okay.
His heart is first, and then I hope it's nothing serious about it.
Those concerned parents in Newark, not Detroit, or not Flint, excuse me, they're worried about the drinking water in the schools. That after the state announced it will now test all of them for lead. That is a toxin that has already shown up in Newark and across the river. New York dealing with the same problem. Yonkers testing all the water, and New York City has set up a website so parents can now check lead levels at their children's schools. And Dom caught up with Senator Chuck Schumer in Nyack today. They discussed how the senator wants to address the issue.
Senator Schumer, on lead, are we in trouble? Are we looking at a Flint, Michigan here in New York and around this area?
Well, I don't think we're looking at a Flint, Michigan, but I think that we have to be really careful. Lead in kids' blood is a bad thing, and it slows down brain development, which can lead to developmental problems, behavioral problems, and even lower IQs in people who have the lead in their blood and have had it for a very long time. So you can't be too careful. New York City, for instance, has done a good job in remediating, and there's very little lead there. It's not that hard to do, but testing is the first step, and we won't know the extent of it till we test, but we should test.
At all schools you want tested?
Well, we haven't proposed a mandate yet. People don't like that. But if the federal government funds every test, which is what my legislation proposes, it won't be an unfunded mandate, and then the state could require it.
It's just, I mean, you listen. At least he's trying to do something about it. I'll give him that. But after what we learned in Flint, now we find out it's in Newark, real clearly. Certain neighborhoods are having problems with lead.
Yeah, I wonder which ones will have the problem with lead. I guess,
where I'm living.
Am I being racial now?
Any community with old pipes,
Oh.
and that's not.
I wonder
just,
which ones have
that's
the old
not
pipes.
just poor communities.
1 second though, Richard. We do know in Flint that there was a conscious decision. It wasn't just the age of the pipes. They tried to save money here by doing a workaround to try and get the water there at obviously catastrophic
I'm
consequences.
not pro what they
I know
did in
you're
Flint.
not. But
the
it's
problem,
not just the age of the pipes.
problem here, and it's going to emerge, is that the testing that is normally done is done in the water in the system. The lead contamination is usually after that because the pipes in a lot of those old houses haven't been changed, even if the water system itself is quite up to date.
And now we're going to be looking at it, and it's more incidents are going to pop up like this.
And we're going to be looking at it because they're going to be testing after the lead pipe instead of before the lead pipe.
And you know what?
And that's in rich
If you ever
neighborhoods that are
wanted
old.
to have an argument why government, you can't do this city by city, even state by state. The feds have to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. But that's one of the consequences of the last 15 years, 10 years, however, whatever year mark you want to put on it. You can't be dancing around on this. If I had a little kid living in Newark right now, my God, imagine I'm hoping they're going to test.
But you heard Schumer. He said he's fighting for the money to do the testing. What happens when 20% of schools show positive signs for too much lead in the water? Then you got to find the money to replace all of that piping. Exactly. And so
Actually,
that's a big battle.
Actually not.
Really?
In cases where the contamination is in the last quarter mile, by merely running the tap water so that the water that's been sitting there overnight isn't in the pipes, you can substantially reduce lead contamination. This has been done. This is almost like the debate about legalizing drugs. It's got to be evidence-based. I'm not for just running water in school buildings to reduce lead levels, but this is not. You don't have to run screaming around the room yelling, the sky is falling. There are plenty of good things that can be done, some of which cost money, some of which
You said
don't.
based on evidence. Let's find out what the evidence happens to be and whether it is the pipes that are aged that have to be replaced or
That's
whether there
what
are
it
things
is.
that can be done. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that those numbers are going to add up pretty quick and that some aspect of this is the result of years of neglect because people didn't want to spend the money.
Richard, on this program, you have done many shows over the last couple of years about issues that are not sexy. I know you remember them for politicians and how they don't pay attention to those issues. This is the exact example of that. You're not going to get reelected saying, oh, I'm out there dealing with potential lead. You're going to get reelected by saying law and order. You know, and you should get reelected. But we've talked about this repeatedly. And so these are officials, and I'm sorry, you can't tell me, Richard, in Scarsdale that they have a problem with lead contamination.
If the houses, the old houses with lead pipes are there, they have the problem.
Well,
It's
the only thing I'd have to
evidence-based,
say about
Dominic.
that, and I know you're not defending it, is if the water looked like it looked in Flint and it tasted like it did in Flint, they wouldn't for years have to fight here to get some attention in Scarsdale. And on that point here, I want to thank the table. When we come back, instead of making it easier for people to vote, a lot of states are making it harder. We're going to tell you about the fight for voting rights. Continues to this day. High-profile case before the Supreme Court. One man, one vote. What does that really mean? Stay with us.